Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? BucosLocker here. Subscribe to the channel, like the channel, share all the videos. Don't forget to hit the notification bell icon to notify you on all new videos that's posted on this channel. Or down! I'm talking about won't care about none of that. That's all we need right here. That's all you need. That's all you need right here. That's all you need. That's all you need. Because we don't care. We do not care. You know what I'm talking about? Season around the corner. First day, joint practice. Got some updates and reading, you know what I'm saying? Seeing what's going on out there. You know what I'm saying? Like a couple of guys, stood out today. Shout out to the Bucs. Bringing some attitude. He's the coach now. Aaron Glenn is the coach now. Joint practice. That's a good thing. What's so interesting is that's two coaches on the hot seat. I'm not gonna go into details behind that, but you know what I'm going with that. What a coincidence, right? So, where should I start at? Where should I start? First things first. Let's start with the chippiness, bringing the fight up to New York, the Big Apple. That's what you want to hear. That's what you like to see. That's the biggest thing that stood out today amongst the reporters. Everybody talking about it. That the Bucs and Jets, they got into like 3 or 4 fights during that joint session. The biggest one that stood out, the two guys that were fighting, Ashawn Robinson and Luke Gedeke. Find that very interesting. Luke getting a little. Hey, you ain't gonna do that to my peoples. You know what I'm saying? Ashawn Robinson, you got, he getting in people's face, so you knew that was gonna happen. He's been like that from the jump since he got in the league. So this is not brand new. He's not all of a sudden Mr. Attitude, and he coming with some dang grit and some toughness and all the things that you want your team to be as far as facing other opponents. You know what I'm saying? Like, take no BS from anybody. Ruben Baines said it. Nobody my friend. We'll get to him in a little bit. But those two, Luke Gedeke and Alshon Robinson, setting the tone. Hosea Trotter, I say Jeremiah Trotter. Hosea Trotter, he was getting out there, getting chippy with it. So a lot of guys, was basically trying to. You could tell, like, they talked about this among the team about being more tougher. And if you look at the draft class, 3 of those guys, Scott, Trotter, and Bain, then you bring in Robinson, you bring in Alzalone, we'll get to him in a little bit. So you got to change the culture because the Bucs were soft. The Bucs were soft. They were soft. They're not soft anymore. And I don't know how tough they're gonna be, but they're not soft anymore. Because they take off the personality of the head coach. You know what I'm saying? The only tough guys that's on our team, in my opinion, prior to what transpired, was Baker. Baker was a tough guy. Tristan Wirfs, but Tristan Wirfs is more of a smiley face guy to me. Very elite player, but to me, he's more of a smiley face guy. Luke Gedeke, quiet. Cody Mount kind of got some toughness, some grit and some attitude to him. Graham Barton, smiley guy. Bredesen, smiley guy. Cade Otton, quiet, smile. Not really going on there. Abuka, smiley guy. Godwin, quiet guy. J Mac and Tez got a little grit to him, toughness to him. They got a little swag. They got some grit to them, as receivers. Payne Durham, quiet. Cole Keith got a little toughness to him. Defensively, Winfield Jr., smiley guy. Tyke Smith got a little toughness to him. Got some toughness to him. Parrish got a little toughness to him, a little swag to him. Zion McCullough, quiet, kind of a smiley guy. Savasi Dennis, quiet. Levante David, quiet. Vita, smiley guy. You know, Anthony Nelson, quiet. So getting these guys on the team, Trotter and Anzalone and Robinson and Bain and Scott and Trotter, bring some attitude. Muhammad, bring some attitude to the team because we definitely needed that. Like seriously. So you saw that today. If you saw if you saw some clips, but you saw that today or you heard about it today. You know, um, that's what it is. And I just kind of gave you the breakdown of how the team was perceived in my eyes. A couple of tough guys, a couple of guys with some edge to them, but mostly kind of a smiley face, quiet, team. But today was not the day to be trying to play with us. Play with the Bucs. So the guys that stood out, let's get to the good stuff. The guys that stood out today, based on what I read today, I didn't see no film. I wasn't up there in New York. But Trotter stood out today for the Bucs. We're talking about the Bucs. Trotter stood out today. Almost had a pick, had some good plays. Anzalone had a pick six. Pepe Williams had a pick six. Who else had a good day? Let me see. It was Anzalone, Pepe Williams. I think Abuka had a red zone touchdown catch. Godwin had some good catches. Who else? Trotter. That's pretty much about it. What stood out? You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as the guys that kind of, oh snap, okay, they out there making some plays. You know what I'm saying? Like they stood out. Muhammad had some good plays based on what I read. But other than that, everybody else kind of played kind of like, whatever. Jets defense was a little sticky and tough. The Bucs had some good success in the red zone, which was good. No explosive plays, no like big plays. I know Ted Hurts had a couple opportunities based on what I read, but didn't convert. I think Baker threw a pick, sack pick, whatever. So his day was kind of like, wasn't great. No real explosive plays. Kind of expected, they're trying to get a feel of the Jets defense. Expect tomorrow to be a little bit more explosiveness to it, but today was more like a horizontal, intermediate, short game. They trying to work on some things. They're not trying to goddamn blow the roof off, tear the roof off. They're just trying to work on some stuff. So, defensively, I didn't hear too much about Ruben Bain. He had maybe a couple plays here and there, but nothing really like what we saw against Luke Gedeke in training camp amongst the inner team. Nothing really explosive or talked about in Ruben Bain. His counterpart was talked about a whole lot more. Nothing from David Walker. I didn't hear anything about David Walker. Didn't hear anything about him, which was kind of surprising. I don't know what was up with that. I mean, he was doing good. I didn't hear about him getting no sacks and nothing like that, or no possible sacks, or making some real big plays. Muhammad made some good plays though. Savasi Dennis was out there over Trotter, which everybody probably was tripping about. Why is Savasi Dennis out there in front of Trotter? But eventually Trotter will be the starter. I think we can all see that coming. Didn't too much hear nothing about Winfield. I think Winfield Jr. didn't practice. I think he didn't practice. Zion McCullum didn't practice. It was just more about testing the depth and all that, and good things like that. Of course, Vita didn't play. Tristan didn't play. But offensively, nothing really eye-catching. Nothing really eye-catching as far as like outside of like offensively, no real like wows. You know what I'm saying? Like Ted Hurts or Mecca Abuka. He had a practice catch that was crazy. I saw the clip of that. Defensively, like I said, Bain didn't really like do what he did as far as like sacking the quarterback against Luke Gedeke. Speaking of Luke Gedeke, and this is a segue over to Ruben Bain's counterpart. Now, I remember in the pre-draft, a lot of people talking about David Bailey, Ruben Bain, who's the best pass rusher in the draft, right? And David Bailey went number 2. So today, based on reports from a lot of people, he was the best player on the field on both teams. What? You know what I'm saying? Luke Gedeke and David Bailey went at it. Luke Gedeke had some wins. I mean, he's a veteran. I mean, better get some wins against a rookie. But as a rookie, David Bailey was giving Luke Gedeke the business. I'm like, so Luke Gedeke was already getting worked by Ruben Bain Jr. Ruben Bain was working Luke Gedeke in training camp. We all know about that. But David Bailey, they said he was just twitchy. He was just like, yeah, when Luke get his hands on him, Luke do his thing. Luke win, he'll win. But Luke is a 4 or 5 year player. David Bailey's a rookie. Why is David Bailey doing you like that? Is David Bailey really like that? I mean, I saw him at Texas Tech. I saw him at Stanford. But they say he was the best player on the field, period. That's high praise for a pass rusher, a young pass rusher, a rookie pass rusher. And it was basically, they was kind of saying as far as the pass rusher, he was the best pass rusher on the field, period, between both teams. And like I said, a lot of people wanted Bain should have went top 10, top 5. But David Bailey is pretty much basically letting everybody know, like, I'm him. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was kind of shocked to hear about David Bailey giving Luke Gedeke some work. David Bailey's not a big dude. Like, he's not like 280 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, David Bailey's not 280 pounds. David Bailey's like 250, maybe 260. Between 250, 260. 6'2" and some change, maybe 6'3", long arms. And he was giving Luke Gedeke business? Then they got into a fight. Luke Gedeke tossed the helmets, fit 20 yards down the field. But I was hoping to hear that about Ruben Bain today. And knowing that David Bailey was out there, I wanted to hear that from Ruben Bain. You know, I wanted to hear Ruben Bain doing what David Bailey did. Not to say that Ruben Bain won't be good. I just all the reps and all the things that we've heard in the Bucs training camp. Now you go against the other tackles, Financial and Mabu, or whatever, the Jets tackles and some backups, whatever. I just wanted to hear Ruben Bain name at the same level as David Bailey. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to hear that comparison. Like, those two was wrecking shop all day. It was literally just David Bailey, pass rusher, giving our $90 million right tackle fits to the point that he had to fight him. He got cheap shotted, but A'Shawn Robinson got into it too. But that was a very shocking thing. The Jets offense, Geno Smith threw 3 picks. Geno Smith being Geno Smith. I know there were some reports about the Bucs secondary not looking good against Adonai Mitchell and Garrett Wilson. They were open, but Geno Smith was missing a lot of passes. So secondary is a concern. We already knew that. But Geno Smith is not a good quarterback to get the ball to those guys. And the thing about Amari Cooper, Sadiq didn't play because he was hurt, still nursing an injury. But the Jets got some young weapons. Mason Taylor, Breece Hall. They got some weapons, man. Just the quarterback don't fit that team. So him throwing 3 picks, I'm not surprised at all. I'm glad the Bucs made him look really bad. This is not the 3 years ago Geno Smith or 4 years ago Geno Smith, his brief resurgence. Remember, quarterbacks over 30, when they have their brief resurgence, got to be careful with that because they fall off pretty bad. And Geno Smith fell off pretty bad. So you got to be careful giving those quarterbacks that type of money after 30. Not all the quarterbacks going to be good after 30, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, the Bucs defense played well, front 7, in the joint practice. It's just secondary has some issues. You know what I'm saying? Secondary has some issues. Guys was getting open, but the ball was not accurate. Hopefully, the pass rush helped the secondary out quite a bit. It will. It should. Just a little concerns here and there. Nothing to be panicking about. Just things that we already knew about the Bucs' concerns as far as like what we're concerned about. Like I said, pass rush, secondary, because we know the Bucs' pass defense in the last 5 years was bottom 7 average. Like, if you average out their pass defense rankings, it probably ranks about 27, 28 in the NFL in that 4 year span. Pretty bad. So, and like some people mentioned it, the cornerbacks, depth in the cornerbacks is pretty concerning with Zion McCullough, Jacob Parrish at the top. Benjamin Morrison didn't play. Obviously, he's nursing his hamstrings. Then you got Pepe Williams, and you got the undrafted guy, the other guy. So our secondary, man, in particular our cornerbacks, they try and Keontae Scott out in multiple positions, but he's really a nickel safety guy. Yeah, cornerback they might need to go get a veteran guy. They need to get a veteran guy. I mean, I think we all know that at this point. It's going to be a long, like the safety's going to have to really make up for the lack of high-end talent at cornerback. Like, and it's not, like I said, Jacob Parrish might emerge to be our CB1, but for him to be a top-tier cornerback, physically, he's not going to be the most physical guys. I mean, how many top-tier cornerbacks you see 5'9", 5'10", so it's an uphill battle for Jacob Parrish just because of his physical limitations. Now, if Jacob Parrish was 6'1", oh, he's CB1. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, size matter in the NFL. Like when you get to that level, you can have the talent, but if you ain't got the size, man, like, and typically the cornerbacks on the outside are over 6 feet. So Jacob Parrish is already out there doing his thing. That's how good he is. But physically, he's gonna have his ups and downs. But we don't have that true lockdown cornerback. Like I said, Jacob Parrish, he can be that guy at 5'10", but he's more of a slot guy. He's kind of like a Tyke Smith. They kind of moved him to the safety. So, and Jacob Parrish, he's physical, but his frame is small. Zion McCullough, 6'2", got all the measurables and traits and all that, but his skills, like his brain, don't mesh well. So that's going to be a concern that the Bucs don't have a true top tier cornerback to kind of like help secondary. And then of course Anzalone is going to help with the middle of the field really good, and Trotter and all that. No more Savas past the Kavase on him. But secondary, and particularly the cornerbacks, are concerned. The depth, I don't think it's really good outside of Parrish and McCullough. And we already know about, like I said, McCullough is McCullough. We already know about that. So he on year 4, going on year 5. So we already know what he looked like. Jacob Parrish, year 2, on the outside, small but very talented, and he'll struggle a little bit here and there. But outside of them two, man, I don't like our cornerback room, really. I really don't. But we'll make do. If the pass rush works, then the safeties, Winfield and Tyke Smith and Nickel, Keontae Scott, and Anzalone will make up for the coverages in the middle of the field, and we'll be all right. So we'll see. But overall, today for the Bucs was pretty good. Like, it was a good day. Like I said, nothing like wow moments, and like I said, they got a pick six and things like that. But no, the guys that you want to hear about, Trotter, we heard about him, but you want to hear about Bain and Scott. You want to see them progress. So tomorrow, hopefully they take it up a notch and make some plays and get their name out there a little bit more, and basically do what they did in Tampa, do it in New York, do it against competition. Joint practice. I'm in the tunnel right now. So another joint practice, and then Thursday off, and then the game is Friday. So I'll go live that probably for the first half. But other than that, man, overall good day, no injuries, on the field. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the results. I'm not tripping about it. Just concerns, that but we all knew about it though. So with that being said, driving by a lot of trees and stuff like that, so you really can't see me. Can't get no light on it like that, what I'm talking about? Shout out to all the Pirates C-Band. Shout out to all my members. Thank you for joining this live stream of BucosLocker. Bucs in New York, joint practice. The theme of that day is we ain't no BS with nobody. That's the biggest thing I can take away from the joint practice. So hopefully they keep up the good word and do their thing, man. I'll catch y'all on the rebound tomorrow. Fire those cannons. Seize the day. Raise the flag. Hashtag no excuses. Hashtag we take no BS. Hashtag attitude. Everybody. Hashtag what does your eyes tell you? BucosLocker signed out. I'll catch y'all tomorrow.